Welcome to TVB News. After their earlier bilateral talks, President Xi Jinping and U.S. President Joe Biden both called for concerted global efforts to tackle climate change. During the informal dialogue at the 30th Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Economic Leaders Meeting, the Chinese leader stressed the need to add new impetus to global sustainable development, while his U.S. counterpart reiterated Washington is not trying to decouple from Beijing. At an informal dialogue and working lunch during the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Economic Leaders Meeting, U.S. President Joe Biden was seen reaching out to President Xi Jinping for a personal chat. Seated by Xi's side was Financial Secretary Paul Chan, representing Hong Kong. President Xi had a brief conversation with Chan. In the opening speech of the meeting, Biden stressed the urgency for the world to tackle climate change.
I said that our world stands at an inflection point. A point where the decisions we make now are going to determine the course of the world, not just a few of our countries, for the next several decades. Every economy is seeing signs of what's to come if we don't act. Droughts, floods, seas rising, temperatures rising, and more unpredictable weather patterns.
President Xi meanwhile said sustainable development is the golden key to solving current global problems. He called on all countries to further build consensus and focus on actions to inject greater impetus into the cause of global sustainable development. That includes accelerating the implementation of the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. As leader of the host nation United States, Biden took center stage for the traditional photo op. On the front row, President Xi on the second to left was flanked by Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Earlier, President Xi delivered a written speech at APEC CEO Summit, stressing that the Asia-Pacific cannot and should not be an arena for geopolitical rivalry and should not plunge into a new Cold War or camp-based confrontation. Noted that China remains the largest engine of global growth, Xi said the country's positive economic outlook will stay unchanged in the long term. Xi said the country welcomes the global business community to invest and share the dividends of China's high-quality development. Biden, meanwhile, said the U.S. is not trying to decouple from China, but to de-risk. He said the U.S. will resolutely defend its interests and values, but will continue collaboration over key global issues. President Xi Jinping also met with Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida on the sideline of APEC Summit. Xi said China and Japan should handle the issue of nuclear contaminated water from Fukushima responsibly. Kishida said China should remove the ban on Japan's seafood. Mimosa Ngai reports.
On Thursday, President Xi Jinping and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida met on the sideline of the APEC Forum in San Francisco. It was the first in-person meeting between the two leaders since the APEC event in Thailand last year. Xi mentioned several points he hopes can be achieved in the China-Japan relationship. Xi said the two countries should focus on common interests, properly handle differences, and affirm the positioning of our strategic and mutually beneficial relationship. Kishida, meanwhile, said a constructive relationship is necessary, and the Japanese Prime Minister agreed the two sides should continue to communicate closely on various levels. The issue of possible pollution of seafood after Japan released diluted nuclear contaminated water came up during the talks. Kishida urged Xi to drop the ban on Japanese seafood. Xi said the Fukushima nuclear contaminated water affects the health of all people and the global marine environment. The president added Japan should handle the matter responsibly, but the two sides agreed to keep discussions open. Mimosa Ngai, TVB News.
Many leaders used the APEC occasion to conduct international diplomacy. Besides meeting U.S. and Japanese leaders, President Xi Jinping also held talks with the leaders of Mexico, Peru, Fiji, and Brunei. This comes as South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol, U.S. President Joe Biden, and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida held a trilateral meeting. Kishida also met with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Daniel Rao tells us more.
President Xi Jinping met with Mexican and Peruvian leaders on the sidelines of the APEC summit in San Francisco. Xi and Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador committed to working together and strengthening ties, while agreeing to combat illegal drug trafficking between their nations and to promote more trade and investment. In his meeting with Peru's President Dina Boluarte, Xi said China and Peru should synchronize their development strategies and strengthen cooperation in areas such as the economy, as well as trade, energy, and mineral resources. While meeting with Fijian Prime Minister Sitiveni Rabuka, Xi stressed China regards Fiji as a good friend and a good partner, and supports Fiji in choosing its own development path and achieving national development and revitalization. In talks with Brunei's Sultan Haji Hassan al-Bolkiah, President Xi stressed China and Brunei should make joint efforts to make positive progress in joint maritime development and jointly safeguard peace and stability in the South China Sea. Meanwhile, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol, US President Joe Biden, and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida held a trilateral meeting on the sidelines of the APEC summit. Yoon was quoted as saying that bilateral cooperation between Seoul and Tokyo is deepening with the reactivation of exchanges at each level. Kishida said he hopes to push forward with cooperation in politics, security guarantees, the economy, and culture. The two leaders also discussed North Korea's continued nuclear and missile tests, while committing to working together with the United States on responding to Pyongyang. Japanese Prime Minister Kishida also met with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Both men touted their country's partnership and commitment to various issues. Trudeau said Canada's friendship with Japan has never been better or closer bilaterally than it has been this past year.
Canada has a long and deep friendship with Japan, but I have to say I don't think it has ever been better or closer bilaterally than it has been this past year. Our military cooperation in the region, our alignment on trade, and a strong and prosperous Indo-Pacific, whether it's been an issue of energy security, of investments in the growing clean economy, or fighting climate change and protecting nature.
Kishida said he looked forward to working with Trudeau to contribute to peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific region and the international community amid mounting geopolitical tensions in areas such as the Middle East and Ukraine. Dan Orell, TV News.
Financial Secretary Paul Chan also spoke at the APEC event, saying Hong Kong will invest the necessary resources into the fight against climate change. Chan said the SAR is set to achieve net zero carbon emissions in 2050, adding total carbon emissions in 2035 will be half that of 2005. He said the city and the Greater Bay Area will develop the region into a global green technology and finance hub, and urged APEC members to strengthen cooperation in continuing green development. Chief Executive John Lee earlier said he could not attend the APEC summit in the U.S. due to scheduling issues. Today, he and other government officials attended a luncheon at the Legislative Council, celebrating the 25th anniversary of the lawmaking institution. Before the luncheon, a group picture was taken at the lobby of the Legislative Council. The CE and some officials wore a green tie, the one they wore on the policy address day to symbolize teamwork. To celebrate the 25th anniversary of LegCo, a roasted suckling pig was prepared. In his speech, LegCo President Andrew Leung said the relationship between lawmakers and the government has improved significantly from previously. Leung hopes the legislators can continue their high-quality work and assist the SAR administration with forthcoming challenges. The police received a record high of over 3,500 reports of online investment scams in the first 3 quarters of this year, involving more than $2 billion. Some victims noted they were defrauded by scammers, claiming to be members of the People's Liberation Army. Timothy Lee reports.
One of the victims was office clerk Ms. Chan. She lost $490,000. Back in August, Chan was solicited on a website by someone who claimed to be a stock commentator and joined a group. She said there were investment experts sharing stock market information updates with members every day and would tell members not to trust other websites. Chan noted she received returns of up to $1,000 during the early period of joining the group, but ultimately lost close to $500,000 after 20 days and found the website to be counterfeit. Authorities said they received 3,523 reports of online investment scams in the first 3 quarters of this year, involving over $2.1 billion. The victims are aged between 13 and 80, including doctors, professors, and even investment consultants. One such victim, a 13-year-old girl, said she met a self-proclaimed investment expert online and ultimately lost $4,000. In another case, a 70-year-old female retiree said a person impersonating a member of the People's Liberation Army befriended her on an instant messaging application. She was later persuaded to invest in some mainland stocks online and transferred $27 million on 73 occasions to different bank accounts between last November and June this year. Police Cybersecurity Division Superintendent Baron Chan reminded people to be cautious of suspicious text messages as well as investment plans claiming unrealistic returns. The police noted social media websites have a webpage transparency section telling users the date a webpage was created. The force warned websites that were created within a year and a few posts carry a greater risk of being fraudulent. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
With more people falling victim to scams, some civil organizations have cooperated with the government and the police to form an anti-scam alliance to tackle the rising number of telephone and email scams. The alliance includes former Police Commissioner Tan King-sheng, experts from the legal and technology sectors, as well as lawmaker Johnny Ng, who has been helping scam victims. The Anti-Scam Alliance said it hopes to increase scam awareness in the city and invite victims to give testimonies. The body will hold an anti-scam day in March next year. The city's housing authority has today approved the relaxation of mortgage arrangements for subsidized sale flats. Following the relaxation, the maximum mortgage default guarantee period will be extended from 25 years to 30 years for tenants purchase scheme apartments, a new home ownership scheme in the primary market. The measure will be implemented in January. For the secondary market, the highest mortgage default guarantee period will be extended to 50 years for apartments under both schemes. This measure will be launched in March. Welcome back. Israel says it has located the dead body of a hostage taken on October 7th. The woman is a 19-year-old soldier. As Israel's military continues to push into Gaza with the aim of destroying Hamas, hospitals say there is no water or oxygen left. David Garrett reports.
AK-47s.
Israel's military show their soldiers in the Al-Shifa hospital compound. They claim to have found more weapons. The Israel Defense Force, or IDF, say Hamas were hiding them at the hospital, making the facility, in their view, a legitimate target. Hamas deny this. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Hamas commanders hiding there ran away. Doctors at other hospitals say they are experiencing attacks, saying they can't do their job and have been forced to evacuate.
No, the patients are still there. We tried to send some of them to Indonesian hospital. But the Indonesian hospital later on that evening was also declared that it was no longer able to provide the service. And basically the whole of northern Gaza now has no functioning hospital.
The shops are empty and so are Gazan stomachs. According to this man, many stores are short of supplies. He tells the world, we are hungry. The United Nations says a lack of fuel means it can't get aid in.
Activity are crippling our operation in Gaza. The lack of fuel has forced the last WFP contracted bakery to shut down and the last mill to stop grinding wheat flour. Even bread, the cornerstone of every Palestinian diet, has now become a rarity.
The Israel-Gaza border remains on fire. Smoke fills the air. Israel leafleted residents in several locations in the south, telling them to relocate as they pursue Hamas.
There are already indications that it is going to expand its operations to the south of Gaza, and it is unclear where hundreds of thousands of people are supposed to go. Already the conditions in southern Gaza are dire. People are living in cramped spaces. Hundreds of people are sharing one bathroom or one shower. And now that the winter is coming, people whose houses were destroyed in airstrikes are sleeping in tents on the muddy ground. They say they're getting sick. And there's concern that as the fighting continues, the situation is only going to get worse.
More protests in America, with the APEC summit not far away. Hundreds calling for a ceasefire clogged up the Bay Bridge in San Francisco, shutting it down.
I think this war is terrible. Okay, I think both Israel and Hamas are doing terrible things. Okay, we need a peaceful, long-term solution. And I totally support everybody on this bridge. This, I think a ceasefire, immediate withdrawal of all troops, stop killing civilians. Totally support that. Okay, and I do recognize the legitimacy of this protest. And 100%. I mean, if I get arrested in 10 seconds, happy to do that.
California Highway Patrol detained some protesters and towed away cars. Philadelphia also saw roads blocked in protest. These demonstrators think Joe Biden's administration is not doing enough to rein in Israel. David Garrett, TVB News.
Spain's lower house of parliament voted to make Pedro Sanchez prime minister for another 4-year term by a wafer-thin margin. This ended a protracted deadlock after an inconclusive general election in July. Sanchez was sworn in by Spain's King Felipe VI in a ceremony today. This comes after his Spanish Socialist Workers' Party had reached separate deals with a number of regional parties to earn their backing. This includes a contentious bill on amnesty for Catalan separatists. The amnesty law would wipe the slate clean for hundreds of Catalan separatists who ran afoul of the law for their rules in the wealthy northeast region's illegal 2017 secession bid that sparked Spain's biggest crisis in decades. The move has sparked protests, sometimes violent, throughout the country. Cambodia inaugurated its newest and biggest airport on Thursday. The airport is a Chinese finance project meant to serve as an upgraded gateway to the country's major tourist attraction, the centuries-old Angkor Wat Temple complex in the northwestern province of Siem Reap. The Siem Reap Angkor International Airport is located on 700 hectares of land, about 40 kilometers east of Angkor Wat, and boasts a 3,600-meter-long runway. It can handle 7 million passengers a year, with plans to augment it to handle 12 million passengers annually from 2040. The airport began operations on October 16th with the first flight to land coming from neighboring Thailand. The old airport it replaces was about 5 kilometers from the famous tourist site. Tourism is one of the main pillars supporting Cambodia's economy. According to its Ministry of Tourism, the country received some 3.5 million international tourists in the first 8 months of 2023. In the U.S., embattled Republican Representative George Santos, who's been accused of cheating his way through his political career, said he will not run for re-election. The announcement was made shortly after the release of a critical report by fellow lawmakers that referred more uncharged and unlawful conduct to the Justice Department for possible criminal prosecution. This report from NBC News.
Tonight, embattled Representative George Santos' days in Congress may be numbered.
Well, he should be expelled. What he has done is violate the public trust, engage in election fraud.
This after the bipartisan House Ethics Committee released a blistering report outlining a long list of allegations against the New York congressman.
The level of misconduct here, criminal conduct, is off the charts. I've never seen anything like this.
Among the new revelations, that Santos used campaign funds to pay for his personal rent, to take out cash from an ATM at a casino, to spend lavishly at designer stores, for cosmetic treatments like Botox, and on the website OnlyFans, which is known for its adult content. Santos already faces a lengthy criminal indictment. The Ethics Committee referred their findings to the DOJ, which could add to his list of charges. As he left Washington, Santos was defiant.
I think I said this very clear to you. I will take whatever comes my way the way it comes. I have no concerns.
Today, he announced he would not seek re-election, but vowed to stay in his seat, quote, up until I am allowed. But that may not be for long, as a flood of members who once said Santos deserved due process before any talk of expulsion are now ready to kick him out.
The Ethics Committee found that he did not cooperate with the investigation, and I think he's been given the fair due process now.
And for his fellow New York Republicans, that vote cannot come soon enough.
The ethics report is not really going to change your mind on George Santos.
George Santos is a fraud. He should not be a member of Congress.
The government published the Wild Animals Protection Amendment Bill on Friday. The bill suggests expanding the scope of the feeding ban to cover feral pigeons. Feral pigeons can be easily spotted in Hong Kong, while feeding wild animals, including pigeons, is not recommended. Some residents still do so. To prevent the situation from worsening, authorities decided to beef up the punishment for illegal feeding activities: 1 year imprisonment and a fine of $100,000. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.